don't. There's no time for a weak link. The strong survive in the weak sink. When you trusted me, I clear the pathway. Cause I don't do things halfway. Let's start the show. Full of charge. We just letting you know. It's all or nothing. We gon' put it down. Are you ready? Ain't no middle ground. You in or you out. It's all or nothing.
Game of the week as St. Augustine and Bartram Trail meet for the 26th time. It's a rivalry that always seems to deliver drama and the unexpected, and tonight the Bears host the Yellow Jackets on Longleaf Pine Parkway. Along with Justin Varney, I'm Cole Pepper. And Justin, these are two teams with some real star power on offense. This one could be a high-scoring shootout tonight.
And we've seen something of a little bit of everything. Walk-off field goal wins, slugfest defensive games that ended 10-7. There's one thing I've known about covering St. Augustine Bartram games, it's to expect the unexpected. St. Augustine won the first 19 games in this series. That was 17 in the regular season, 2 classic playoff games. Bartram has won the next 5 games, and then St. Augustine bounced back with a walk-off field goal win last year, 34-31. They lead the series 20-5. To show you how close this series has been, 12 games decided by a touchdown or less. One of those went into overtime. These two teams didn't play in 2000, the year Bartram opened. They have played every year since 2001, including a couple seasons where they played twice. Been a great clash in St. Johns County. When I think of good ones, Cole, this is the one I think about standing the test of time down in St. Johns County.
It has been a great rivalry, and some of the top stars offensively in our area will be on display here tonight, including St. Augustine quarterback Lachlan Hewlett. See his numbers for the year: 14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. The USF commit is a 3-year starter, and he has been the guy at the trigger for St. Augustine's offense for a long time. He
has been a guy who I even tabbed earlier in the offseason as a player to watch, his stock to rise. And Arthur Lewis IV, the powerful running back here, he's over 1,000 yards already. Corey Johns said last week when I talked to him, or actually this week when I talked to him, that Arthur Lewis, he is one of the best players he has ever coached, and that's saying something when he had Lathan Biddle last year, who led the state of Florida in rushing.
Yeah, and a guy in Arthur Lewis whose worst game of the year, 124 yards rushing. He has been on fire as the Yellow Jackets take the field at 5-1 this season. The only loss coming in overtime against Nice on a game that went right down to the wire, and literally the last play as St. Augustine went for 2 and didn't make it. Brian Braddock went for the win, and it was Nice making the play defensively, so that's the only blemish on St. Augustine's record. They are ranked number 3 in your Varsity 4 Super 10 this week, and a team that could certainly contend for a deep run and maybe a state championship. Bartram comes in at 3-3 on the season, coming off a 42-26 loss at Decoy Creek. I say coming off, but it's been 23 days since they played that game between storms and the bye week. Bartram, it's been a while since they've been able to tee it up.
Yeah, and you look at the same thing. Some of these teams in our area have been plagued by that. Nice, we talked about them a second ago. They handed St. Augustine the loss the last time out. Nice's last game was September 30th, an OT win over Gainesville-Buchholz. So St. Augustine has been in a similar situation, have not played a lot at all lately.
There is Corey John, second season as the head coach at Bartram Trail. It's the second head coach in school history for Darryl Sutherland. Laid the foundation and had great success as the head coach for the Bears. His stamp still all over this program.
Darryl is one of a kind coaching wise. Got a chance to know him pretty well when he coached down there, and I remember I kid around with Darryl. He had a lot more hair and a lot less gray back when he first started. Bartram was just kind of a dream when he first got there the year before they opened.
And here is the opening kickoff of the ball game, taken by an up back for Bartram. This is Landon Tippie, a tight end, who returns it to the 33-yard line. Clearly, St. Augustine doesn't want to kick it to Arthur Lewis, but we'll see if Lewis will get involved early in this ball game. The running back for the Bears, 9th in the state in rushing yards, 6th in terms of rushing yards per game this year for Bartram. And the Bears, and it's an offense that has averaged 30 points per game. They can plays out here. Jaden Weatherly is the quarterback.
Yes.
And he is in the shotgun formation. And will throw it on first down. Weatherly under pressure, stepping up. He'll run it. He's a good runner from the quarterback position. Dives forward past the midfield stripe with a first down on his first carry. He is a player who Corey John says is smart with the ball, makes good decisions, and he made a good decision and a good run here.
Yeah, Jaden's a guy who's been getting it done for years. You go back to middle school, him getting it done there. Of course, his brother Eric played at Bartram Trail, went on to college, and one of the better players in Bartram's recent history. And you got to look about the big three if you're the St. Augustine offense. Jaden Weatherly, DeAndre Caldwell, Arthur Lewis. You got their bullseyes on all those guys on this Bears offense.
Nico Dawkins is in the game as a running back, and Lewis goes out wide to the right. Dawkins felt like Barry Sanders back there. They fake it to him and throw it to Lewis. Now watch out and see if he can make something happen. Lewis down to the 44-yard line. Good gang tackling by St. Augustine. A number of players in the action there to stop the dangerous Arthur Lewis.
Was out at Bartram practice this week and chatted with Arthur Lewis after practice and just elevated to a 3-star, I believe, by Rivals. So congrats to young man on that. And he is just a dynamic playmaker. And he said the big goal here, all of us have the same goals, and that's to win games and get to college.
Zach Marshall, the offensive line captain at center there. Like Corey John says, does a great job of holding other players accountable. One of the reasons for the offensive success this year. We'll fake it to Lewis, and Weatherly will run it, picking his way forward, and gets inside the 40-yard line and will be close to a first down.
This series has been so dramatic, and when you look at the series, St. Augustine won the first 19 in a row in this series. Just unheard of to have such a vice lock on a series, even when Bartram had better players in terms of college prospects. St. Augustine found ways to win games. I look at games going back when Nathan Peterman was a quarterback, by Bobby Walker, Jared Crump at receiver. St. Augustine just found ways to win games over and over and over. The series has been very back and forth, even though it's heavy tilted in the St. Augustine favor, and it's just been so many memorable games in this series. I've got stories for years from these two programs.
And on 3rd and 1, Corey Johns wants to talk things over here with his offense as they see this as a very important early drive. And Bartram's success this year has been when they have gotten a good performance from the defense, although they have won some shootouts. They won a 43-42 overtime game at Ware County back in early September. Then lost the following week 49-42 at Creekside. So there have been some high-scoring games for Bartram. Ryan Braddock's team very potent on offense as well. Swing it out to Lewis. He has the first down, driving his way forward to the 30-yard line. So finding some creative ways to get the ball into the hands of Arthur Lewis.
And you got to do that if you're Corey Johns. He has raved about Arthur Lewis ever since he took the job there last season. It was his first season there. Lathan Biddle led the team in rushing, led the state of Florida in rushing. But Arthur Lewis was such a good complement to Lathan, even running back kicks, running back punts, doing a little bit of everything.
And the snap back and nothing doing this time as they snapped it back to Lewis. And he was hit in the backfield by Kion Wilcox, who has 6, now call it 7 tackles for loss on the season from his defensive line spot. Take another look here. Again, they are scheming it up to get the ball in the hands of Zero.
St. Augustine has been susceptible to giving up some yardage, some points this year as well, and these put up 35 on them in that overtime win. And that's due to a lot of graduation loss, especially in the center of the field. 2 linebackers graduated last year, and that's been a big impact on this defense.
Weatherly on a designed quarterback run, hit the backfield, breaks away, and able to get forward for a gain of a couple. Wilcox was in there again for St. Augustine. Brent Bell, the senior defensive lineman, also in the picture, number 7.
mentioned in St. Augustine defense, they've given up yardage, given up points, but this week on Monday night, they absolutely obliterated Clay 56-6. They had 3 pick sixes in that game, 6 total takeaways in that game. So really, Brian Braddock, when we talked to Brian earlier in the season, Cole, he talked about the defense and these guys having to grow up and that tipping point in the game. And hopefully for Brian Braddock, that St. Augustine defense, that point came Monday night.
3rd and 11, and they'll give it to Lewis again, running through the middle, able to get sideways and get close to that first down marker. Well, you see how electric Lewis is with the ball in his hands. This seems to glide across the top of the grass.
You got a 3rd and 11, and you can run a running back right between the tackles and have faith that you could possibly get a first down or picked up a first down. Shows you just how much a game breaker Arthur Lewis is.
4th and a short 2, and Bartram going for it here, and they are able to pick up the first down, diving forward inside the 20-yard line. Lewis again would not be denied. If you look at the schools who are interested in Lewis right now, you mentioned he had been a 2-star, now elevated to a 3-star, but teams like Austin Peay and University of South Florida, ECU, Georgia Southern, James Madison, and UTEP. I have a feeling by the time the season is over, there will be some more noteworthy teams even in that who will come calling to the Lewis household.
Yeah, and he's only a junior too, and he is only going to get better and better and better. And you look at what Lathan Biddle, the last big running back, did in this Bartram offense under Corey Johns. He wound up at Utah. He was our offensive player of the year. Big things ahead for Arthur Lewis.
Give it to Lewis again out of the I formation, running to the left and lunging forward to about the 10. Yeah, 2 very different running backs, by the way. Lathan Biddle, a power back at the high school level. He would lower the boom on you, love to run between the tackles. Very, very strong runner, just a workhorse. Lewis is more electric and a guy who, if he gets on the edge, watch out.
Yeah, I remember talking to Drake Stubb, the Mandarin safety, last year when they were in the studio and we were talking about the toughest guys they faced, and asked Drake, who was the most difficult player you faced this season? He said Lathan Biddle. He was a big load to bring down, and that was from our defensive player of the year who's headed to Miami. Arthur Lewis, a completely different player, but just as effective.
Weatherly got pressured, got away from it, looks inside the 5, tripped up down at the 3-yard line. Jaden Weatherly and Lewis have been the 2 driving forces on this drive, as we expected. 2 of the 3 big 3 for Bartram really getting involved. We have yet to see on DeAndre Caldwell.
Great opening drive for the Bears. Very sustained, very consistent, plugging away, letting that big offensive line work. And we talked earlier in the year, Cole, about the size and the efficiency of this offensive line, a veteran unit coming back, and they are showing that tonight.
3rd down. A loaded backfield, and now another timeout called.
Timeout. Bartram, that is their second charge. Timeout.
Bartram going to talk this one over. They can get a first down without getting a touchdown here.
If you're Bartram Trail and Corey Johns, probably a little bit upset that you had to use a second timeout on your opening drive. We're only in the first quarter, 6 minutes and 6 seconds into this game. You've already burned 2 timeouts. This drive looking like it can generate something point-wise. You want to make the right decision. You're in a 3rd and short and a goal-to-go situation here. If you pick this up, you gotta punch this drive off and get something point-wise. St. Augustine's going to have a big night. Big offense on that other side of the field. You want to turn this drive into points, and the only thing bad about this is spending 2 timeouts on your opening drive.
Yeah, it will be worth it if it winds up in 6 points. Field goal is fine, but when you're facing a team as powerful offensively as St. Augustine, touchdowns go a long way. So 3rd and 2 from just outside the 3. And they'll snap it back to Lewis, running right, cuts it back inside, battling, and down close to the first down marker.
No doubt where that was going. He had 3 guys in front of him on that play, in the backfield on that play. Trying to clear for him. No gain on the play. Wow.
4th and a short 2. Lewis once again Takes the direct snap. He'll have the first down and pushes his way in. Touchdown, Bartram. The Bears are on the board first.
What a drive. What a drive. Convert 2 4th downs on the drive, and you get stuffed on 3rd and 2. Nothing there, and then 4th and 2. Right back to Arthur Lewis. He pushes across Bartram Trail in front on the scoreboard first. And what a drive to start this game. You chew up 6 minutes of clock. Get in the end zone. Great opening drive for that offensive line, Arthur Lewis, and these Bartram Trail Bears.
And the extra point up and good. And a very strong start for Bartram here after taking the opening kickoff. They march right downfield for the score behind that young man, Arthur Lewis IV.
Great opening drive for Arthur Lewis and the Bears against number 3 St. Augustine. And anytime you can score in this rivalry, you need to, because you never know what happens. So many great ones in this clash. Good time to remind you now, St. Augustine's number 3 in our Super 10, but where will they be on Tuesday night? You can check in with our News4JAX Varsity 4 Super 10. We unveil that every Tuesday night in the 10 o'clock news, around 10:45, 10:50, and you can also find that online at news4jax.com. The Super 10 Varsity 4 coming to you on Tuesday nights.
Well, will St. Augustine answer? Darrell Jenkins and Trenton Jones back deep for the Yellow Jackets. And here's the kick, high and into the end zone. It'll be a touchback. St. Augustine will take over on their own 20-yard line. And we'll see a trio of very talented receivers. And Lachlan Hewlett will try to get the ball to those 3. Samorian Wingo, Carl Jenkins, and Trenton Jones. So we'll see how they all play out here. 3 wide receivers, all of whom have Division I offers: Jones, Jenkins, and Wingo.
Here's them together.
It's Carl Jenkins Jr., Trenton Jones, and Samorian Wingo, and these guys are electric.
And they'll start it off with a run on the ground. Trendle Anderson with a run. Not much doing in the middle of that Bartram Trail defense. Parker Davis was in there, along with Josiah Smith making the stop.
Last year we sat down with Lachlan Hewlett, and he said, man, these receivers make my job so much easier than it should be.
Takes the high snap and will throw it deep down the near sideline, looking for Wingo, who makes the catch while he was being dragged to the ground. What a catch by Samorian Wingo. Put that one on the highlight reel.
You see why he is one of the most coveted guys in the country in the class of 2026. And Carl Jenkins Jr. is the headliner of this 2025 crop of receiver recruits. But man, Samorian Wingo posterized his Bartram counterpart there. What a grab by Samorian. First throw of the night for Lachlan Hewlett, eats up a chunk of the field, and wow, Samorian, that's going on the huddle tape.
A 4-star prospect, already has offers from 19 schools, including the likes of Michigan and Michigan State. Here's Anderson banging it into the line and spinning forward to the 40. Gain of a couple. Take another look here at the catch by Wingo.
Getting mauled on that play, and to be able to bring that in, excellent concentration by Samorian Wingo.
Florida and Miami also after him, by the way. Play action and throwing deep, and it's Jones who makes the catch and is down at the 1. Trenton Jones, one of the other wide receivers, making a big-time catch. Hewlett has been right on the money on a couple of deep throws.
Yeah, I love these St. Augustine receivers, and Trenton Jones kind of the third man in this system, and he is just as good as the other two. Showing it there, nearly gets in the end zone, and Lachlan Hewlett has completed 2 balls, and they've gone from one side of the field to the other. Great catches Great throws, too, by Lachlan, but, man, what a grab by Samorian and Trenton there. We have yet to see Carl Jenkins Jr. grab a ball, but I think his number is going to be called here soon.
Yeah, there are all kinds of schools after all three of these. Jenkins was a UCF commit, then decommitted in September. So between these three receivers, you're talking about 14 offers for Jones, 33 for Jenkins, and 19 for Wingo. And some big schools as well involved in there.
Yeah, these guys are all good. And, you know, St. Augustine is not a program that has these guys year after year after year. And I remember when Joey Wiles coached at St. Augustine, he says, we've got to build something sustainable because for every year we've got Brandon Jones, who you see right there is the offensive coordinator, who's a fantastic running back who went to Florida, won a couple national titles there. He was a three-star guy at St. Augustine when he and his brother Jacques Rickerson played there. But you can't count on having those guys year after year. You've got to put a system in place that is sustainable. And St. Augustine this year, this is a banner crop of guys that the Yellow Jackets have now. But even without these guys, Brian Braddock has put in that sustainable system that really, really works.
You saw the rain there coming down. Speaking with Richard Nunn before the game, he said that there are a couple of arms of rain that will just kind of come in, slap a little rain down, and then move on out. Shouldn't last very long and not likely to be all that intense. It will be less and less potent as the game goes on, and there will certainly be intermittent, but they are playing in the rain. And Dylan Caldwell was being tended to on the field. That was the reason for the delay. The defensive back who was covering on the previous play.
So first and goal for the Yellow Jackets.
So he's come off, and now first and goal from the 1 yard line.
I think we're going to see Trindell Anderson
lined up in the backfield there, number 10.
Jenkins and Wingo to the right side.
It is Anderson running in behind a big offensive line, got stood up and pushed back. And they'll have to go for it on second and goal.
The thing with St. Augustine this year that they are missing is that big sledgehammer running back. Devontae Bam Lyons was with the program, was kind of a foundational piece. He graduated. He's now in college. And that's big. You can have all the receivers in the world and your big-time quarterback, but when you're missing a piece of your offense that was so vital to your team for so many years, 4 years, it is tough. And Brian Braddock said that is one of the big things that people don't understand in high school football.
Jaquan Lee in there now. They give it to him, and he's right in for the touchdown. Found a seam between the right guard and center, and Lee runs in for the touchdown. And the Yellow Jackets are an extra point away from tying things up. We expected a high-scoring game. So far, 2 drives, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and St. Augustine moved that ball extremely efficiently in big chunks right down the field. And that's why if you're Bartram, you've got to capitalize. Every drive has got to end with points to stay with this St. Augustine team. You know, St. Augustine's going to score and score a bunch. They've shown that they are, with this offense, they are going to do just that. You got to be able to stay pace and keep up, and you can't fall behind in this game. 7-all here early, and we're poised for a good one tonight, Cole.
Both offenses looking very strong early on. Both offenses scoring touchdowns. St. Augustine made it look easy on a very quick drive. Didn't take long to answer the opening Bears touchdown drive.
Tonight is a good time to remind you that if you like Jaguars football, they've not given you a lot to be positive about, but we bring you Jaguars news all the time. You can check out our News4JAX podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or on Amazon. Check it out there. And if reading is your thing, subscribe to our News4JAX newsletter. Go to news4jax.com/newsletters and have News4JAX sent to your inbox to keep you updated on all the Jaguars news.
No surprise in this one so far. We thought it'd be a good one. We've had some great Varsity 4 games of the week, and this one we expected to be one of those that could, like last year, go right down to the wire. A field goal with less than a minute to play was the difference a season ago. Here's the kick, and on the return, it is Lewis on the run. Arthur Lewis into St. Augustine territory and out of bounds. Well, the first kickoff did not go to Lewis. It was kicked short. This time he ran up on it and makes the return from the 15-yard line.
I saw Arthur Lewis take one back. I remember that was against Oakley for IMG Academy last year. But, man, he is a threat when the ball in his hands. I don't understand why teams kick to him. He has just been phenomenal in the return game. Reminds me of a certain guy at St. Augustine named Brandon James. Remember when Brandon James was coming up on the freshman squad, Joey Wiles said, Justin, we have got a guy that's going to blow your socks off. He had 6 punt returns for touchdowns on JV, and that was Brandon James. Of course, he went on to become a legend in the AUG.
1st and 10 from the 44, and it's Weatherly on the run right up the middle.
That's Weatherly on the keeper.
He gains 11. So it's been basically a two-man game here for Bartram Trail. The quarterback Jaden Weatherly and Arthur Lewis doing most of the heavy lifting so far.
Yeah, Jaden is a very good runner as well as passer. Quite a few touchdowns on the ground as well, and a very efficient passer too. Just have not seen that tonight because the ground game has been so successful for the Bartram Trail Bears.
Well, we'll see if Corey John subscribes to the old theory of make them prove that they can stop you before you change it. The running game has been the thing. Nico Dawkins back in there now. And they bring Lewis in motion, fake it to him. Weatherly on the rollout. He'll take it himself and gain a yard, maybe 2. Well defended by St. Augustine. A lot of window dressing on that play for the Bears.
And Corey is a coach who loves that misdirection. He loves the run and the ball. We saw last year with Latham Biddle over 2,000 rushing yards, and that's a deviation from the Darrell Sutherland days where you had the big-time quarterbacks, the Nate Petermans, the Joey Gatewoods, and Riley Smiths, and Josh Sanfilippo's, Kyle Parkers, the guys who were putting it up in the air and throwing 200, 300 yards a game. Darrell Sutherland liked to throw it. Corey Johns likes to pound that ball and run it.
On 2nd and 9, Weatherly to throw to the left side and incomplete. Threw it a little high and wide on that attempt. So it'll bring up 3rd down and 9. Weatherly got hit as he threw, and you can see him picking some of the Bartram Trail turf from Bears Stadium out of his helmet.
Very good looking field there at Bartram Trail. Turf program over there does a fantastic job. Of course, that field at Bartram Trail was built by the NFL.
George Toma had a hand in that.
George Toma, the turf legend.
3rd down and 9. Give it to Lewis. Cuts once, twice, and powers his way forward past the 30 to about the 27-yard line. It'll bring up 4th down and short, and decision time coming up for Corey Johns and the Bears.
They've converted a couple times already on 4th down, and saw a similar run last drive where it's 3rd and 11, and they handed off to him, and he got 9.
And they did not give him the forward progress that I thought, so it's a longer 4th down here, 4th and 5. Colby Dean, the tight end, on a wing to the right side. Fake it to Lewis and throw, and this one is caught. Caldwell, his first catch of the ball game. He has the 1st down inside the 15-yard line.
3 for 3 on 4th down so far in this first quarter. Bartram offense is doing it, not a lot through the air. They did that time, but they are picking up these 1st downs, converting these 4th downs, and they've got another shot inside the red zone to put points on the board.
Caldwell's averaging 95 yards receiving per game this year. And you know that he is fully aware of the kind of attention that the receivers on the other side of the field are getting. So a chance for him to prove himself here against St. Augustine.
Saw DeAndre in our week 2 game of the week. Ponte Vedra was at Bartram, and he had that beautiful sideline grab that he turned into a touchdown.
Weatherly on what's probably going to be the last play of the quarter takes it himself and bangs his way down near the 5-yard line. That's how the first quarter ends. It has been a very entertaining game if you like high school football with great offense. 7-7, and it has been just about flawless by each offense so far. Bartram will try to punch it in on their 2nd drive to start the 2nd quarter. And When we talked with Corey Johns, one of the things he mentioned is that these rivalries, you can expect anything and everything because something crazy always happens. We haven't seen anything crazy yet, but it has been quite a start.
It's always something in these games. I have covered these games from the beginning of time, Cole, and always seen something wild in these Bartram games. WWE NXT, the next generation of WWE superstars, take to the ring live each week in the WWE NXT. Don't miss the action Tuesday nights at 8 on CW 17.
They are wearing pink pom-poms.
Cole, this is really kind of what I was expecting, a game where there's not a lot of defense so far, and it's back and forth, and I think we're going to see a track meet type of game in this one. I just feel that Bartram's defense has been dented a little bit this season by teams going up and down the field on it. St. Augustine's defense, a little bit of that rebuilding in the center of the field, and I think we're going to see a sign of things to come is what we saw in that first quarter. A lot of offense. No punts so far in this game either.
Yeah, I would think the punters are going to have an easy night of it tonight, and that's the sense I'm getting, and the expectation coming in.
That's when you are an NFL team and you leave your punter on the inactive list that they send out an hour before each NFL game. Take that the 6th or 7th receiver and make him active on game day.
There's the Bartram offensive line. We'll see what they can do here on 1st and goal from the 5. Lewis in the backfield along with Weatherly. And they'll option it to him. Coming to the near side. Lewis hit and maybe got back to the line of scrimmage, but no closer. Brent Bell in there to make the tackle, along with Mike Wright for St. Augustine.
I love Mike Wright. He is such a good player on that defensive line. So many games last year, the year before, Mike Wright was the guy making tackles. If it wasn't Julian Quintero or Drake Lusk at that linebacking spot, it was Mike Wright, be it a stop at the line of scrimmage or a sack of the quarterback. Very good on that defensive front.
2nd and goal from just inside the 5. Lewis up the middle, pushing his way down, lost the football, and it's recovered by St. Augustine at the 1. Huge play by the Yellow Jackets, just their 3rd fumble recovery of the year, and this one may have been a game changer. Daryl Jenkins came up with it, but take another look as Lewis was running right into the heart of the St. Augustine defense.
Yeah, clearly a fumble there too. Lost it when he was going forward.
Looked like Mason Bean, the freshman, might have gotten a hand to jar it out of there. Big time play. Well, we talked about the punters might not be needed, but if the defenses are making plays like that.
Wow, good play. Great play there defensively to not kind of concede that short yardage play. When you get inside the 5, it's almost assumed touchdown unless you're a Jaguars player. Arthur Lewis sure-handed and loses it going in.
So 1st and 99 here for the Yellow Jackets. Hewlett from the shotgun will hand it off. Anderson breaks through, dragging a defender past the 10 to the 11-yard line. So that'll give a little extra running room for a running back who's 5'5", 150. Anderson does not go down easily.
Saw a play last year very similar to that one we just saw where St. Aug was backed up, I believe, on its 2 or 3 yard line, and Bam Lions got the handoff and went 98, 99 yards. For a touchdown.
Quick throw by Hewlett out to the right side, caught by Carl Jenkins, and there goes Jenkins up the sideline. Will they catch him? No. Off to the races. Carl Jenkins goes 89 yards for the touchdown. 2 plays after the turnover, St. Augustine strikes again.
Carl Jenkins Jr., one of my favorite players in town, and you see why. He is an affable young man. He is an excellent receiver, sure-handed, great catch radius, and he is deceptively quick. Thought the defensive back had a shot on him at the angle, but Carl said, no thank you, you're not catching me.
Well, we highlighted those 3 wide receivers, and so far all of them have had a highlight moment in this game for St. Augustine. There's a look at Jenkins. The senior just outran everybody. He's at 6'3", you don't always think he might be as fast as he is. And now the extra point is blocked. And so we'll see if that one comes back to be a factor in the ball game. St. Augustine with a 13-7 lead, 10:38 to play here in the first half. And this game is everything we expected it to be, Justin.
It is, and I keep sounding like a broken record. So many of these St. Augustine Bartram games have been like this: the back and forths, the walk-off field goals, the overtime games. It has just been a great series to watch. Even last year, Cole, where St. Augustine had, I believe, that is backup quarterback Dylan Cook in the game.
That's right.
And wound up winning 34-31 over Bartram Trail. Anything is possible in this series. Saturdays are made for sports on CW17. Watch action-packed ACC football, NASCAR's high-speed thrills on the Xfinity Series, and the latest from Live Golf. It's all happening on CW Sports Saturdays on CW17.
St. Augustine lost out on a big game earlier this year because of the weather. It's going to be our Varsity 4 game of the week against Bowles. That one likely not to be made up, even though the FHSAA added an extra week to the regular season. So this becomes, without a doubt, the focus game of the year for the Yellow Jackets. And on the return,
looks like right at the 20, so Bears will take over first.
Mario Middleton taken down. Well, it's been big play after big play by St. Augustine, whether the receivers or on defense. The Yellow Jackets lead is 6.
Good showing from this St. Augustine defense so far, outside of that first drive and portions of that second drive. They have been good, especially that fumble recovery, which Carl Jenkins Jr. wound up stretching into 6.
And St. Augustine saying another fumble here.
Ball was recovered by St. Augustine. First down, Yellow Jackets.
So far, I don't see an indication from the officials. And now they do say it is St. Augustine recovering the fumble.
Markeel Logan with the recover on that. Sophomore defensive lineman, looked like he came up with the ball.
Take another look there. The ball came out.
Colson
Baum was running it. The backup quarterback, he's been getting action in the third series all year long, and that third series lasted just one play. Hewlett now on the run, throwing, and this one is caught. And there goes Trenton Jones to the end zone. Is he in? They say no, out of bounds at the 1.
Why this St. Augustine team is so dangerous, Cole. We have seen Bartram kind of hanging with them early, and then you leave a little bit of room. You don't capitalize on that play you have from the 2-yard line. You fumble it, bang, an 89-yard touchdown, and then they're knocking on the door again right here. Going to have about 2 yards to go, and there it is.
Anderson runs it in for the touchdown. Penalty markers fly after the play. I think we're going to get a unsportsmanlike call coming up here, but that came after the whistle, after the touchdown.
This game quickly tilting in the favor of St. Augustine after 2 fumbles. Cannot give the ball away when you're going in for a touchdown, and then you can't give it right back inside your own 20.
This is what's amazing, Justin. All season long, St. Augustine had recovered only 2 fumbles. In a quarter and a half, they've recovered 2 here tonight.
Killer fumbles. No turnover is good, but you commit a turnover, basically heading in for a touchdown, and then on the drive to get back in, you fumble on the first play. St. Augustine punches it in 2 snaps later, and this game has quickly shifted in favor of the Yellow Jackets.
An illegal substitution call. You half the distance to the goal, but St. Aug will go ahead and kick it with Skylar Kokoschka, who also stars on the baseball field, the pitcher and shortstop. And St. Augustine's going to call timeout here with 10:07 to play in the first half. again, you sort of wait with bated breath in this game for something crazy to happen, and maybe that's what the craziness is, that as many fumble recoveries in this first 14 minutes of the game as St. Aug has had all year long. Boy, it's a quick strike offense for St. Aug.
Yeah,
they have shown it tonight.
You've got to capitalize on the chances you have if you're Bartram Trail. You know this is not going to be a 13-7 kind of game, a 20-14 kind of game. This game is going to be a 45-38 kind of game. You need to be able to keep pace with them, and you cannot give a St. Augustine offense with 3 future Division I receivers and a Division I quarterback that many opportunities.
Yeah, I don't remember an offense with this kind of potency. You talked about the pitch and catch as St. Augustine has. I'm sure we could go back through the the record books and try to find something to have 3 Division I receivers and a Division I quarterback on the same team. Pretty impressive. And now St. Aug decides to go for 2, and Jaquan Lee powers his way in. So the missed extra point made up for after the penalty, and it is a 21-7 St. Augustine lead.
You blink and things have changed from you potentially going up by 7 to down by 2 touchdowns. Wow.
Well, there was the fumble recovered by St. Aug, and then Hewlett didn't take too long to get things started, throwing to Trenton Jones, and that set up the touchdown run by Trendell Anderson. St. Augustine making it look easy so far offensively, and the defense has been opportunistic as well.
Yeah, Brian Braddock there, asked him this week when I chatted with him at practice, and when he got to St. Augustine, the Yellow Jackets were riding that impressive winning streak over Bartram, and they had never lost to Bartram, and it's been a while since they had lost to Nice. You hadn't had those big games. And Brian said, well, I got here and I ripped those Band-Aids off. I lost to Bartram, and then I lost to Nice. So it's become quite a great game where you don't have those streak kind of hanging over your head. It can just be truly a great football game.
Now here's Arthur Lewis on the return, bringing it back to the 30, to the 35, and helmet taken off as he's taken down, crossing the 35 to about the 36, 37 yard line.
St. Augustine also had a receiver last year. Miles Simmons was a very, very good pass catcher. So really this team has 3 receivers now. They had 4 last year when they played for a state championship game, and you also had that big running back Bam Lyons. So you're down a little bit in terms of the talent you brought back, but man, these receivers are fun to watch.
And we know that St. Augustine is going to be a well-coached team. Ryan Braddock from the Joey Wiles coaching tree, coaching at his alma mater. Quick throw to the left side, and picked up off the top of the grass by Colby Dean, the tight end, just his 6th catch of the season. Bartram looking to try to turn things around. This one, boy, just good job by getting the fingertips underneath the ball.
Looked like a shortstop catching it off the short hop.
2nd down and 6. Weatherly on the rollout. Looks to throw. This one is caught. Stepping out of bounds is Caldwell in St. Augustine territory at the 48-yard line. Other than the turnovers, Bartram has, for the most part, kept pace with the St. Augustine offense. Maybe not quite as explosive, but they've been every bit as effective.
Yeah, you're -2 right now in the turnover differential. That's because of the story of the game. Other than that, you're probably leading this game.
Weatherly going to run it himself. Might have been a broken play inside the 45 to the 43. Gain of 5, maybe 6 on the carry for the quarterback.
Got to come away with points here. You cannot have another drive that ends with nothing. You got to get in the end zone here.
This game has a little bit of the feel of an arena football game in that if you don't score on a possession, you feel like it's a wasted opportunity. And if you have 2 or 3 possessions without scores, forget about it.
And St. Augustine, I said they had the potential to give up a lot on the defensive side of the ball. And that's fine when your offense can put up 40 or 50 a game in the blink of an eye.
Hand it off, and Dawkins doesn't go very far. Yeah, this St. Augustine defense, as you mentioned, lost some key guys in the back seven from last year. Some real emotional leaders as well. And that not just good players, but guys who are emotional leaders. Sometimes it takes a while for that leadership vacuum to be filled.
Yeah, and going back to the conversation we had Brian Braddock earlier this season, he said people just expected us, since we played in the championship game last year, to waltz back there and not have any issue, but it's not like that. We had to replace a 4-year running back. We had to replace 2 exceptional linebackers that we had last year. It's not going to just happen like it did last year. And I think you've seen a little bit of those growing pains so far this season for St. Augustine.
Third down, they give it to Lewis. He's got the first down of running over players. And St. Augustine pawing at the ball, trying to pull it from Lewis. But Lewis holds on and gains the first down.
Another time when they're giving it to Arthur Lewis on 3rd and long. He delivered on that first drive, got 9 of 11 yards that they needed. And boom, you give it right back to him on 3rd and long and delivers once again.
He's going to come out to the side. Daryl Jenkins really popped Lewis, the senior free safety. So he'll have a breather while Nico Dawkins goes back in on a 1st and 10 play. They shift the wing to the left. Weatherly going to throw it. Ran out of time, and down he goes.
4 guys there. No chance for Jaden.
Kion Wilcox was the first one there. That's his 4th sack of the season.
Spotted right at the 40-yard line of St. Augustine.
Markeel Logan also in there.
Got a guy behind you, a guy directly in front of you, and guys on each side. Jaden had no chance to turn that one into anything.
2nd down and 14. Those are the kind of plays that Bartram needs to avoid if they're going to keep up with this St. Augustine offense. Weatherly pitches. Dawkins stopped short of the original line of scrimmage. There is a flag down on the play. Now, beg your pardon, that was Lewis who came back in the ballgame.
It's a different season for Bartram Trail. They've lost to Coy Creek for the first time in program history. They lost to Ponte Vedra as well. And it's just been a little bit of a change. I had a chance to talk to Corey and athletic director Ben Wendell at the Nice game a few weeks ago. They were at the Nice Buchholz game, and they both said it's just a different type of season for the Bears when you're replacing so many guys and learning on the fly.
Now, last year they were 8-5, won a couple of playoff games on the road, beating both Navarre and Niceville. That Navarre game, 67-55, looked like a basketball score. Then they lost to Buchholz in the regional finals. They're down in 13. Weatherly stepping up, throwing. This one is caught. Caldwell weaving his way through the defense, has the first down inside the 10, still going, still on his feet. Here comes some friends to push, and he's down to the 7-yard line.
What a play. Another DeAndre Caldwell. You get him the ball in space and let him work. What a play. We saw it in the Ponte Vedra game where he took that sideline route and turned it into a long touchdown. You get it here, you let him make plays. Great move there. And continuing to just churn and churn and churn. We're down right inside the 5 again. Ball security here. You got to turn this something, big catch and run, into 6 if you're the Bears.
Weatherly looking left the whole way, now comes back to the right, going to run it. Evades one defender, gets to the goal line, and waiting for a signal. Looks like he's down inside the 1. A helmet came off during the play. An offensive lineman, like Zach Marshall, lost his headgear. Aiden Harris comes running in to replace him. It'll be just inches away. Take another look. Look at that side-to-side movement by Weatherly. Running like a running back.
So love that play he had to DeAndre Caldwell. DeAndre not taking no for an opportunity. He got about 7 or 8 yards after that first contact.
There is a penalty marker down that was dropped late. This may be about maybe a hands to the face with Marshall losing the helmet.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct on the defense, number 9. Half the distance to the ball, second down.
Unsportsmanlike conduct called on Wheeler. Didn't see what precipitated that. May have been something he said down there. But second and goal from the 1. Empty backfield now for Weatherly. Quarterback sneak. There he goes. Lunging his way down to the goal line. Still fighting for inches. And comes up just short. So Zach Marshall comes back in with the helmet back on. And Aiden Harris, who had replaced him, comes off. Looks like is going to tweak the back there. Now putting in the heavy artillery with Kenyon Green also going in. Heck of a job by the St. Augustine defense. Stop Weatherly on the doorstep.
Got to punch it in here. A little bit better situation here for Bartram than where Arthur fumbled on the previous situation inside the 5.
Yeah. Trying to get things right personnel-wise. You saw Marshall, number 72 there, motioning back to the sideline about a play or a formation. So Bartram calls their final timeout of the half with 4:05 to play in the second quarter. This is still early in the game, but you would think this would be 4-down territory for sure for Bartram Trail.
Yeah, I think you got to be with what you've seen out of St. Augustine. 3 drives, 3 scores, and really not much resistance in the process. If you're Bartram, you're built to win a game against St. Augustine when you can score at back-to-back with them, tit for tat. I don't think you can afford to fall behind St. Augustine by more than what you're behind right now. You're not built like some of the Bartram teams in the past where you're able to run up and down and really light the fire offensively with some of the big-time guys you had before. You got to score with St. Augustine, and you got to keep this really within a 1-possession game to have a shot at beating them.
Now they went from having extra big bodies up there to having just the 5 offensive linemen and now 5 receivers. Weatherly going to sneak up close, and there was motion up front.
That's something you want to see there. You go from being on the half-yard line to backwards, and now you got 5 more yards to have to worry about.
Yeah, there's not much margin for error at this point with the 2 fumbles that St. Augustine turned into touchdowns. Bartram can't afford to leave points on off the board.
Little different situation this year without a big bruiser like Lathan Biddle back there, where you can line it up and know he goes right through the gut there. Arthur Lewis, a little bit different of a back, that shifty scat back. But in a goal line situation, I think you'd rather have the guy like a Biddle, the bruiser.
They will give it to Lewis, and he's in. Touchdown. Might have heard you and decided to say, Justin, I'll take it from here.
He says, hey, that's why I play the game, and you're sitting with a headset calling it.
His 13th rushing touchdown of the season.
Good play from Arthur Lewis.
Take a look here. Found the hole and just followed Nick Spicer, who was pulling from his left tackle spot right up into the middle, and made it look easy.
St. Augustine really went and swarmed Jaden Weatherly there, allowed that play to develop a little bit more. The RPO to Arthur Lewis. Probably one of the easiest runs he's had tonight.
Here's the extra point up, and it is good. 21-14 the score with 3:59 to play in the second quarter. And that was a must-have touchdown for Bartram Trail.
Now's a good time to remind you, if you like high school football, you can stay connected to high school sports in the area with the Varsity 4 podcast. Each week, Sponge Franklin and I bring you high school football analysis, game previews, and local insight that you can only find here, the Varsity 4 podcast. Check that out under the sports tab at News4JAX.com or wherever your favorite podcasts are found.
Close to having those conversations about the playoffs and playoff positioning.
It's unbelievable how quickly these seasons go by. We're already in week 9, and of course we have an extra week of high school football. The regular season now 12 weeks long due to the Florida High School Athletic Association stretching that out due to the Hurricanes Helene and Milton. So we will have at least Bartram Trail and Nice and Wakulla Swanee in week 12, and possibly a few more games coming to you that final week of the regular season. Now in week 12, high school football playoffs will start a week later. High school first round will be November 15th.
Well, does that mean that the old saying of it's a good season if you're practicing on Thanksgiving is going to apply to more teams?
That's a good possibility. That's the kind of the milestone a lot of teams set, Cole, is to practice on Thanksgiving morning. Always fun to see that and go out there and experience that with the players and coaches.
Here's the kick, and it is taken by St. Augustine. Trenton Jones looking for some room and able to push his way up to about the 25-yard line. Well, we mentioned that St. Augustine, their schedule, like everybody's, has been thrown around a bit and impacted by storms and so forth. They played on Monday and beat Clay 56-6 after really not being able to practice. And Brian Braddock kind of joked, I guess that he's going to bring somebody to say that practice doesn't matter. And he likes how his team has handled things, though, throughout the course of what has been a wild year for everybody. And he referenced the 2017 season, his second season as head coach. That was the year of Hurricane Irma that disrupted quite a bit in our area. And he said he had a little bit of a consternation about playing on Monday, especially considering they were playing a Clay County school. But it turned out just fine for the Yellow Jackets. With Hewlett on first down, faking the handoff. Rolling to his right and throwing, and it was dropped. Caleb Steer, the tight end, had the ball in his hands and could not hang on.
I asked Brian this week at practice, I said, this year kind of reminds me of 2004. And he said, yeah, you got a good memory. 2004, St. Augustine played in, I believe, in a half of football in the Kickoff Classic, and it was delayed by lightning. And then their first 2 games wiped out by that 3-hurricane stretch we had. They didn't play for quite some time.
Hand it off to Anderson, and there he goes up the middle into the secondary. Trendell Anderson taken down as he crosses the 35 down to the 33-yard line. You see the quickness of a guy who has averaged 7 yards a carry this year, and he's adding to that number right here.
Just straight through the center of the hole in the secondary, trying to adjust.
And quickly back to it, St. Augustine, and this one connected to Trenton Jones. Chain gang hadn't even totally gotten set. Well, the St. Augustine looked explosive on offense as expected. 2nd down and 2. Anderson running up the middle, has the first down, wrapping both arms around the football as he crosses the 20-yard line.
They are just chewing the ball, chewing the yardage up, and gobs of yardage here, and just big play after big play, be it the passing or the ground game. It has just been pick your poison.
1st and 10, and they fake it. Hewlett to throw, fires to the end zone, a lunging attempt incomplete. Tried to get it to to Trenton Jones over there. Jones went diving for it but couldn't haul it in. There is a penalty marker on the play. To finish the story on St. Augustine and the schedule, they'll take on Ridgeview next week, and then the following Thursday they'll play at Mandarin. And I asked Brian Braddock, well, you still have the extra week to make up that game with Bulls if you wanted to. And he said, quite frankly, that's a game that we like to play early in the season because it's a litmus test game. It'll test you.
Yeah, but
Playing
not
at the
late
end
in
of the year.
season.
It doesn't have the same benefit.
Yeah, it's almost for a team. If you weren't going to the playoffs and you didn't have a legitimate shot to go deep in the postseason, that's one thing. You get the game in, you make it up. But not for a team that has championship expectations.
Hand it off to Nate Preston, and Preston bangs his way forward.
I think you want to take that extra week and use it to get healthy, get rested. Their game against Ridgeview is essentially the easiest one on St. Augustine's schedule. Ridgeview is really rebuilding, really young. I saw them play at Columbia a few weeks ago, and Columbia could have named its score. A lot of young guys that get reps in that Ridgeview game.
2nd and 14. Hewlett looking to the end zone. Has his man caught. Wingo. Touchdown. And just like that, another St. Augustine score.
Can't cover all these weapons. And that's why, unfortunately for Bartram Trail, you got to hold on to that football. 2 turnovers, the story of the game right now. Smorian Wingo not going to get more wide open than that. He was all alone in the end zone, about a 5-yard buffer.
Yeah, look at that. And as accurate as Hewlett has been, he didn't have to be that accurate. Wingo had found some open real estate.
Of course, Lachlan Hewlett's dad is a very good quarterback coach, not only at St. Augustine, but a private quarterback coach, and worked with Benny Thompson in the area and Tom Gormley, training quite a few guys whose names you know.
Yeah, Jacksonville has really become almost an epicenter for quarterbacks, as this one is blocked as a result of that group. They have done a great job, including with Caleb Williams, who's got some pre-draft and pre-combine work down here before becoming the #1 pick of the draft.
Brock Purdy, Anthony Richardson, Carson Beck, kind of a laundry list of big name guys who work with Tom Gormley, Denny Thompson, and Will Hewlett in this area. Now's a good time to remind you, love high school football. We got a lot coming to you tonight. The Varsity 4 show starts at 10:30 on Channel 4. We'll have highlights from not only this game that you're watching right now, but all kinds of other games in the area. Make sure you tune in tonight on Channel 4 at 10:30 for all the best in high school action on the Varsity 4 football show.
Yeah, I have a feeling some of the St. Augustine wide receivers might be making an appearance on that program tonight.
I did start Lachlan Hewlett in my fantasy football this week.
Here we go.
He's earning me some points right now, Cole.
Arthur Lewis, always a good pick for your high school football fantasy team, if you are so inclined. He's back to return this kick, and he'll run up on it at the 29-yard line. Lewis already has 1 kickoff return for a touchdown this season and is forward to the 45-yard line. 27-14. St. Augustine has scored a touchdown on every drive. About the only thing they've not done well is kick extra points. They've had a couple of them blocked.
I said it last drive. Your Bartram, you got to match this. You cannot let this game stay at this 2-score threshold. St. Augustine gets the ball first to start halftime, the 3rd quarter. You got to be able to keep pace and maybe scratch out a turnover or stop to catch back up to St. Augustine in this game. Cannot continue to let them have target practice and score every drive.
Weatherly with Lewis next to him on 1st and 10 from the 45. Pressure coming. Weatherly steps up and maybe gets back close to the line of scrimmage. Kion Wilcox has been a game wrecker for that St. Augustine defense tonight.
We saw him in the backfield last drive as well. Getting that constant pressure on Jaden Weatherly. Great bending on the edge.
Just going to right around the tight end, Colby Dean.
Tight end could not pick up that block at all, even chip him.
And an interception. Another turnover forced by St. Augustine. This one is picked off by Matteo Bernardi, and the Yellow Jackets are on the doorstep again.
3 turnovers. You've turned 2 into touchdowns already. Knocking on the door again. Turnovers, the name of the game tonight. Corey John's got to just be shaking his head at giving St. Augustine the ball in perfect field position again. Tip drill.
Yeah, this one was batted by Mike Wright. Guy you mentioned earlier.
Love Mike Wright. He is a game changer at that line. Right into the hands of Mateo, and this has the potential to turn into a blowout, Cole, which is our second of the week if it continues to go this way. Our second half game of the week choosings have been not as strong as our first.
So 1:39 to play. Could be a double dip for St. Augustine. As you mentioned, they'll receive the second half kickoff. Here's the handoff to Anderson, and he is spun down as he crossed the 35-yard line, taken down by Landon Tippy. Now, St. Aug, they'll be a playoff team and one to be reckoned with. And you mentioned last year, 13-1, won the district, went all the way to the state finals. Felt like they had an excellent chance to win a championship last year. And we've talked to Brian Braddock a couple of times. I think he knows he has potential, but he's not quite ready to say that his team has gotten to where they need to be, even offensively. Hewlett to throw it. Rolling out on second down. Looking downfield, looking to the end zone. Wingo. Nope. Beg your pardon, Jenkins. And incomplete. Jenkins was well defended out there by Damian Pierce.
Joel Raggins had the tackle on the previous play. He's a defensive back. His father, Joel, was a fantastic running back at the Bartram Trail program. I believe was the career rushing leader for a slice of time.
Amazing that Bartram Trail now has second-generation players playing in this program.
And it's unbelievable for me, too, Cole.
Yeah.
And I've covered these guys, and they're fathers who now have kids playing for these programs.
3rd and 7 with 51 seconds remaining. Corey Johns is incensed on the sidelines. St. Augustine called a timeout just before the play clock ran out. I think Johns wanted the penalty marker thrown. Instead, it'll be Ryan Braddock and company. Brandon James, the offensive coordinator, over there to talk things over with Lachlan Hewlett.
Joey Lippo, also a St. Augustine high school graduate, played offensive line back in his day. Went to college. A lot of interesting storylines on the St. Augustine team. Brandon James, his brother Braylon, actually chatted with him. He's a player on the current Yellow Jackets team, and Brandon, the offensive coordinator. Brandon's brother Jaquez Rickerson was a fantastic,
great high school
player for the Yellow Jackets during his time. He's Tim Tebow's kryptonite, as I used to like to call him.
Well, this St. Augustine program has a lot of history and guys who stayed connected with it. If you think about it, Brian Braddock, the head coach, played at St. Augustine, spent 4 years at the school, and between being a head coach for 9 years and an assistant coach as well, he has spent more than 22 years involved with St. Augustine football. He hasn't turned 44 yet, so more than half of his life he's been involved with St. Augustine Yellow Jackets football.
Well, if I were to make that comparison to you, it would be with barbecue.
That would be way more than half my life.
Way more than half.
Way more. When you had a spare rib in your crib instead of a pacifier growing up in Kansas City. But, there is something about these St. Augustine, St. Johns County games that there is just something different to them. And, the rivalry means something different because of the communities around the schools. Hewlett on the rollout. Throws. This one caught short by Anderson. Has the first down and then smartly runs out of bounds as the Bartram defense trying to rip the ball out of his hands. He held on to it and ran out of bounds. That is a heads-up play by Trendell Anderson.
Saving a timeout. And heads-up play there by Trendell. And, yeah, just to your point, Cole, these games, that was kind of the tenor I took this week when working on a story about these two teams. It's so different when you're playing in a smaller county as opposed to one like, say, Duval.
Hewlett on 1st and 10. Throws. This one is caught. Tiptoeing the sidelines. Jenkins steps out of bounds. Gain of 8. And it stops the clock again.
The guys know each other. it still has a feel of the Friday night lights in these smaller counties. In Columbia County and St. John's and Clay and Nassau, it's just different. In smaller Georgia counties, it's just different. It feels that way. Camden County at Lowndes, Valdosta at Lowndes, Charlton County, Yulee, those games just feel so different. You don't get that in the big city schools.
Hewlett to throw it on second down. Quick throw, caught, inbounds, and staying inbounds. First down is achieved by Trenton Jones, but the clock was not stopped by running out of bounds, so they'll reset the chains. And maybe a spike here by Hewlett. Nope, they're going to run a play. Quick throw again. Jones has it. Steps out of bounds around the 5-yard line. With Jones, Jenkins, and Wingo, that trio of wide receivers have been terrific tonight.
Yeah, you can't cover all those guys and with a normal defense. And I think Bartram is trying to do the best it can, but these guys are different breeds. We've seen it on the play, the first play of the game where, the second touchdown of the game for St. Augustine, where Carl took that short pass and turned it into 6.
Anderson running up the middle. Has enough yardage for the first down. That'll bring up a 1st and goal with 14.5 seconds. Take a look from behind the Bartram defense. Anderson just trying to follow his offensive line through the middle there. Joshua Singleton was clearing a path.
First and goal must be slightly thrown at Bartram's 4-yard line, first down.
If you're St. Augustine, and this game is played out about as perfect as you could possibly dream about. 3 takeaways. I mean, they had 6 on Monday night against Clay, but you had 3 pick sixes in that game. In this game, you've got 3 takeaways. One was basically a 98-yard touchdown drive set up by the big pass from Lachlan Hewlett to Carl Jenkins Jr. The other 2 have been on the Bartram side of the field and short fields to work with. But if they punch something out of this drive, Cole, you're looking at a potential, the missed PATs and what they do here, potential 21 points off of giveaways. Cannot do that against any team and expect to win, let alone a team the quality of St. Augustine, which is a team that lost in the state championship game last year and the number 3 ranked team in our area.
So St. Augustine out of timeouts now. So probably 2 shots at the end zone here. Here's the first one to the corner, looking for Jenkins, and he came down out of bounds. It will be another 2nd down and goal. That one took just 4 seconds, so maybe a couple more options here, a couple more shots at the end zone.
I think you just keep throwing that same play, be it to Jenkins or Wingo. I don't think anybody on this Bartram defense can get up and guard those guys. I mean, they are so good. They're tall, they're physical, they're quick, strong. Samorian's a little bit bigger than the other 2 receivers for St. Augustine, so maybe a jump ball to Samorian, but I don't think anybody can cover these guys.
Damian Pierce there has a 40-inch vertical as the defensive back. He might have the best shot at it. This one fired to the end zone and incomplete. Tried to get it to Jones that time, coming shallow across the goal line. 5.9 seconds. That took just under 5 seconds for that play.
I don't know if you don't get in the end zone, if you consider trying to kick a field goal, and we've seen the issues with even basic PATs tonight for St. Augustine, so I don't know if this is technically 4-down territory.
Wingo is the lone receiver to the right side, the top of the screen. 3 receivers out to the left. Hewlett, high snap, down he goes. And that is how the half will end, on a bad snap. So Bartram catches a break right before the end of the 2nd quarter. But it has been all St. Augustine to this point, 27-14. The Yellow Jackets forcing 3 turnovers. And it has been a rather one-sided first half as a result.
Not what you want to see if you're St. Augustine and Lachlan Hewlett walking gingerly off the field after that bad snap.
We'll check in on his condition as the second half begins. But for now, all Yellow Jackets 27-14 at the break.
It's Friday night, where student athletes play with nothing to lose, chasing greatness, building bonds.
And whole communities come together under the lights to witness passion, pride, and moments they'll remember for the rest of their lives.
This is football, high school football. There's no tradition like it.
And we're here to support it. Farron Farah is proud to sponsor Varsity for Football.
A world of ideas comes to life through Gemstone Media. We blend picture and sound, persuasion and emotion, purpose and passion to brand your company and increase sales. We broadcast sports and train military and industrial personnel. Let us demonstrate the power of effective communication. On the air, online, on demand, on time, on budget, on point. Let Gemstone Media get your ideas turned on.
Let's start the show.
St. Augustine leads 27-14 at halftime as this game opened. Justin Barney, it delivered what we expected, a couple of very potent offenses. Bartram Trail marched right downfield on the first drive and scored, and it didn't take long for the St. Augustine passing game to serve notice as well.
All kinds of big plays from St. Augustine, most of it on the arm of Lachlan Hewlett.
Hewlett, 10 of 14, 228 yards passing in the first half. We did see turnovers become a factor as well. 3 turnovers forced by St. Augustine, and they took advantage of all of them, including this one, an 89-yard touchdown pass. Carl Jenkins doing most of the work for the Yellow Jackets. He had 2 catches for 97 yards in the first half. His running mates, Samorian Wingo, 61 yards receiving. Trenton Jones, 5 for 80. I'm not sure what was more impressive, the St. Augustine defense or the St. Augustine passing game. It was good all the way around.
All the way around, and I think we're seeing just that continuation from what we've seen Monday night against that blowout of Clay, 56-6, where defense headlined everything. Jackets continuing right where they left off.
Bears, though, continue to fight. DeAndre Caldwell battling his way down to the 5, and then Arthur Lewis took it in. Lewis with 2 touchdown runs, but only 40 yards rushing. That's more than 80 yards less than his worst game this year. And his opposite number, Trendell Anderson, setting up a touchdown for the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, it's Arthur is just wearing that bullseye on him tonight, and St. Augustine doing an exceptional job of keeping him kind of hemmed in.
2 fumble recoveries and an interception in the first half for the St. Augustine defense. And about the only thing that didn't go right, the last play of the half on a high snap, Lachlan Hewlett went down and could not get the play off. So it stays a 27-14 St. Augustine lead, and the Yellow Jackets will receive the opening kickoff of the second half. If you're Bartram Trail, Justin Barney, you've got to eliminate all the mistakes. You have 0 margin for error the rest of the way.
Yeah, you're -3 right now, and you really should be a little bit closer in this game. You gave up one of those turnovers when you're going into the end zone to get in front of St. Augustine, and that was a 14-point swing right there. So you've already done the damage that you can afford to have. You've given the ball away 3 times. You held on to the end of the half and kept St. Augustine from adding to that damage. But, man, Bartram, you've got to play perfect in this second half to have a chance to pull out a win here.
And a lot of those highlights from the first half and more likely to come in the second.
Good time to remind you that you can check out our Varsity 4 high school football show tonight at 10:30 on Channel 4. You'll have highlights from this game of the week and quite a few others that are going on in the area every Friday night during football season. Catch us at 10:30 p.m. for the Varsity 4 high school football show on Channel 4. A lot of good highlights coming your way tonight from the area.
Well, interesting that the way Bartram's season has played out, it's been win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. Lose today, it'll be back-to-back losses for the first time.
Yeah, and you just can't have that. You've had the good games. I mean, the unbelievable performance when you win on a 2-point conversion run up at Ware County and you come back and you lay an egg. You've just had too many of the hot and cold. And if you're Bartram, I mean, losing to a Creekside, losing to a Coy Creek, just you can't have those games happen like that. You've got to stack something positive. If you could come back and put together a solid half of football tonight, if you're Corey Johns and the Bears, that's great to build for the tail end of this season. You could still win a district championship, but you cannot continue to have these uneven performances like you've seen throughout most of the season.
You saw the rain coming down. Corey Johns, the Bartram head coach, talks about his team playing in bear weather, which is anything. They're going to have to weather the storm here in the second half, and likely it's going to take a takeaway or 2 for Bartram to come back against St. Augustine.
You just can't continue to give the ball away to them. I mean, you see what happened on the turnover at the 2-yard line. St. Augustine needed 2 plays to go basically 98 yards down the other side of the field, and then you turn the ball over on your own side of the field. Just unacceptable tonight for this Bartram Trail offense.
Here's the kick for Bartram, and it's taken by Trenton Jones. Jones swinging to the outside, now cutting it back in. Penalty marker comes down as he's tackled at the 27-yard line.
Jones on the return. There is a flag on the play. Tackle made by Joe Ray.
Talking about the Bartram defense, there are 11 new kids who are starting for the first time this year on the Bartram defense. So growing pains for sure. And they've started learning together, according to Corey Johns. Well, this is a major lesson here against one of the best offenses in the area.
Such a good offense. And the Bartram Trail defense, give them credit, they haven't played bad at all tonight. They've just been put in some bad situations, including 2 drives that started on their side of the field after turnovers.
After the penalty, 1st and 10 from the 12-yard line. Another high snap. Hewlett able to capture it. Now throws to the far side. Jones bouncing it and gang tackled by a trio of Bears. No gain, maybe half a yard. And it's going to bring up 2nd down and long.
If you're Brian Braddock and Joey Lippo, you've got to talk to your guys on the offensive line and say, hey, keep these snaps within Laughlin's numbers. You got to put the ball right on his hands and stop.
Here's Anderson. Yeah, especially in
these high snaps.
Especially in this weather, that can be a factor.
You cost yourself at least 3 at the end of that half with that bad snap, and then Laughlin was a little gimpy to get up after that play.
Taking a look at the Anderson run. He had 9 carries for 74 yards and a touchdown in the first half.
Much different runner than Bam Lyons.
Now off to the races. Here's Anderson into Bears territory.
Tackle made by number 4, Tristan Allen.
Now you're knocking on that Bartram defense again. You're on the Bears side of the field once again. Every drive of St. Augustine has gone deep into Bartram territory. Only one hasn't ended in points so far.
Quick throw, far side, caught. Carl Jenkins to the outside and out of bounds just shy of the first down. You can see Anderson over there on the sideline for a moment.
Yeah, I love Jamie French. I think he's unquestionably the best receiver, not only in the area, perhaps even in the state. But I love Carl Jenkins Jr. and the ability he brings. He's so fun to watch.
This time they give it to Jaquan Lee, and Lee has a first down running right.
This is Jaquan Lee on the carry.
Saw Anderson over there tying the shoe.
Tackle made by Joel Raggins.
Raggins on the tackle
Also on our tackle
for Bartram Trail. And Lee, the duo of wide receivers at Riverside is very impressive as well. You talk about a group, and here is Preston off to the races, and he's in. Nate Preston, touchdown, St. Augustine. Everybody getting into the act for the Yellow Jackets.
What a game tonight from St. Augustine. Just overwhelming Bartram Trail. Probably expecting the pass. You give it to your number 3 running back, and he is off to the house. Too many weapons for this Yellow Jackets team.
The top 3 running backs for St. Aug have all scored. 2 of the top 3 receivers. Extra point up and good.
And the kick is good. That brings the score.
If you're keeping score at home on the fantasy cheat sheet, you need just a Lachlan Hewlett rushing touchdown and a Trenton Jones receiving touchdown to fill out your fantasy football bingo card for the St. Augustine offense.
It has been a group effort by the St. Aug offense, that's for sure.
Jones nearly scored into that first half. If you like the Jaguars, you can listen or read about what we've got to say about them. Check in with our News4JAX podcasts wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Do News4JAX.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon or Google. If you like to read, download our Subscribe to our News4JAX newsletter. Go to news4jax.com/newsletters. Sign up for it. It'll be delivered straight to your inbox. Talking about all things Jaguars. Not a lot of positives. Jaguars this season, Cole.
Changes probably coming. Already the Roy Robertson-Harris trade. There's a short kick, and this is Landon Tippy on the return, back up to the 40-yard line.
The ball was returned by Colby Dean.
Oh, beg your pardon, Colby Dean, the other tight end. 8, not 6, who returned it. And we'll keep an eye on Arthur Lewis and his numbers. We mentioned that every game this year he has run for at least 124 yards. 3 times this year he's topped 200 yards rushing in a game. But in the first half he had just 12 carries for 40 yards.
Great job by that St. Augustine defense.
And Nico Dawkins in there at the running back spot to start things. Weatherly will run it up the middle.
It's Weatherly on the carry, gain of 5.
He gains 4, maybe 5. Lewis started out as a wide receiver on that first snap.
Just a different Bartram Trail team than we've seen the last few years. Lathan Biddle, Riley Trujillo. Now it's Jaden Weatherly and Arthur Lewis, and just a different type of offense.
Trujillo's brother, by the way, is a wide receiver on the team, but we haven't seen him out there yet. And for number 14, Brendan Trujillo. A couple of catches this year, but major changes. Last year, first year of Corey John, still I think some overlap of Daryl Sutherland, even though a number of assistant coaches came with Corey Johns.
I cannot say enough positive things about Daryl Sutherland.
Oh, wonderful.
One of the most genuine human beings you will ever meet. He is the same guy, whether he wins a state championship, whether he loses on a walk-off field goal. He is about the most even-keeled, respectful, genuine human. And all these coaches, so many coaches in this high school realm are just good people. They have a heart for mentoring, heart for teaching. They don't do it for the money. And Daryl, to be in that position he started before Bartram even opened his doors. He started in '99. School didn't open until 2000. And he was the same guy back in '99 when I first met him as he was when I saw him at church earlier this year. And he is just kind of one of those guys. Brian Braddock is another guy. Joey Wiles, Cole, you know him, Cole. And so many of those guys have been just that heart for teaching these young men.
2nd and 5. Lewis comes into the backfield. Weatherly fakes it to him. Now wants to throw. Fires deep, downfield, and overshoots DeAndre Caldwell, who was looking back up into the raindrops and couldn't haul that one in. Yeah, the point about Daryl Sutherland, I thought, one of the things that he did as well as any high school coach I've ever seen is to create the right environment. I mean, he set the tone for that Bartram Trail program, and there are others who do a great job as well, but really struck me the way he interacted with his kids, the way that the expectations were set, how things were communicated. You could write a book about the ways that Daryl Sutherland created a culture at Bartram Trail.
Absolutely, and a great wife as well. Mary is fantastic. Actually coached the flag football team at Bartram in its first season, and Daryl helped her out. A little bit different, but yeah, Daryl, when you talk about longevity and guys who are in this for the right reasons and long tenured, I mean, the years of the Joey Wiles and the Daryl Sutherlands and the Marty Lees and the Kevin Sullivans, men who have done this for years and years and years, decades, those days are over. You don't see that anymore in today's NIL portal / low pay coaching era.
So 4th and 5, and it's a must go here for Bartram Trail. Weatherly hit in the backfield. Down he goes. The ball will go over on downs. And on the first drive of the second half for Bartram Trail, after giving up a touchdown to start the quarter, Arthur Lewis doesn't touch it, and they don't get a first down.
And that man again, Kion Wilcox, called his name quite a few times tonight in the backfield on 4th and 5, and he is the guy who initiates contact, leads to a sack on 4th down. About the 3rd or 4th play in the negative for Kion tonight.
He's been the defensive player of the game for the first 2.5 quarters. So St. Augustine with a 20-point lead here. And we're starting to see some of the bench be utilized by the Yellow Jackets. Hewlett staying in there at quarterback. He will fake the handoff to Anderson. Look downfield, firing deep, double coverage on Carl Jenkins. It is incomplete. We saw Robert Owens in there at tight end. He is a senior and the 3rd tight end utilized by the Yellow Jackets.
So many weapons on this St. Augustine team. We've seen all 3 running backs find the end zone. 2 of the 3 big receivers get in the end zone.
Here's Anderson bouncing it. Penalty marker thrown in. This one probably coming back after Anderson picked up 8 yards on 2nd down. It is a holding call.
Go back to coaching, Cole. We don't see the Corkies anymore, the Verlins, guys who stay in this profession long term. And I think one really good reason is the financial aspect of it, and 2 is the time commitment. You're forsaking all this time with your family, if you have young kids, you miss out on that time. And I remember a conversation I had with Corky Rogers after he was recovering from his heart surgery about one thing he missed from doing it all, if he could do it all again. And he said time with his family.
Yep. Here is Jaquan Lee running, picking up about 7 on 2nd down. But yeah, you just rattled off some of the great high school coaches in the history of the area, and guys, Berlin Dormany's still doing it. I just saw him on Tuesday night in a big win over Episcopal, and you know, he says he's going to stick it out through, you know, this freshman class, sophomore class, a couple of, you know, good young classes he wants to see them through. Here's Wingo, and trying to fight his way for a 1st down. I think he got there, but there are a lot of factors when you start talking about where you, where you're going to put your emotional and investment of time. And if the money's not what it is in some other states, you've done a lot of reporting on that, comparing Florida to Georgia, and Florida got a couple more bucks for the coaches a couple of years ago. Here's Lee again, pushing forward and bulldozing his way down to the 22-yard line. It is if you're going to do it right, it is a serious commitment of time and emotional capital.
Yeah, it's people who are not well versed in the landscape of high school sports and coaching. Men and women do not get paid much at all to coach high school football, high school athletics in general in the state of Florida, and it's just a shame. And forget the money aside right now, you have so many more responsibilities now as a coach when you're talking about trying to keep your players. Now it's transfer portal era in the state of Florida. You got to hold on to your guys. You've got to not coach. I remember Joey Wiles years ago, he said, Justin, my job now is exponentially more challenging than it was 10 years ago. It's more demands on me as a teacher. There's more demands on me as a coach, what I'm expected to do. You want to have your huddle highlights for your players on demand right after games on Friday night. There's so many more things. The testing standards in Florida have gone through the roof, academic testing standards, and those are all, I mean, these coaches, Corey Johns, Brian Braddock, you name it, these guys are not full-time head coaches. This is considered basically a part-time position. Your full-time position is your teaching position. So Corey Johns, Brian Braddock, those guys teach for 40 hours a week and then coach basically in a part-time role and get paid about $5,000 a year.
Here is the handoff, and it's Anderson running up the middle, and he pushes forward to the 10-yard line. And that was a part of the conversation that I had with Brian Braddock earlier this week. He said, you've got to make things count in the downtime. You've got to find ways to carve out that personal time because you're kind of on call 24/7. Here is Jaquan Lee running inside the 5. Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, and you've got somebody related to the football program texting you about somebody. At some point, you got to leave the phone in the car and go to church or whatever it is, spend that time with the family. But there are demands, partly because of the change in the job, partly because of the technology that we all deal with. And again, here is Lee getting a little shove from his offensive lineman friends. And inside the 5-yard line down to about the 2.
And we talk about things on the weekends. And who do you think does the laundry? It's coaches, it's head coaches, it's assistant coaches that are doing the laundry and folding them and getting them ready for the week.
2nd and goal from, let's call it the 2. Nate Preston in at running back. He already has a touchdown today. The only guy out there in the skill positions who doesn't is Trenton Jones, number 1. Hewlett will hand it off, and it is Preston running it in for the touchdown. His 2nd touchdown of the ball game, and it stretches the St. Augustine lead to 40-14.
Did not see this type of performance coming. Those 3 turnovers, absolutely a killer. The only drive St. Augustine has not scored on was the bad snap at the end of the half where Laughlin had to fall on the ball and time ran out. Otherwise, St. Aug would have been perfect tonight in terms of scoring on every single possession.
Here's Skylar Kokoschka with the extra point. This one is up and good. He's had a couple blocked today, but that one is through. So it's 41-14. St. Augustine with the lead with 4:04 to play here in the 3rd quarter. It is becoming a walk for the Yellow Jackets.
Great performance on both sides of the ball for St. Augustine. Very efficient on offense, scoring basically every time they touch the ball. And defense, the bedrock of tonight for the Yellow Jackets. Saturdays are made for sports on CW17. Watch action-packed ACC football, NASCAR's high-speed thrills, and the latest from Live Golf. It's all happening on CW Sports Saturdays on CW17.
Just to finish the conversation with Brian Braddock talking about the pressure on coaches. He says his wife does a lot of wellness coaching in her field, and something she said and has heard her teach people before is you have to teach people how to treat you in some regards. You set some boundaries, but that's hard to do.
Yeah.
You've got 50 kids on the roster, and they all have parents and expectations and everything else. It is a labor of love for most of these individuals.
Right. And Brian, like Daryl, like Joey, coaches with a good support system in terms of their families and their wives. Jenna Braddock is a football coach's wife to the core, has done so many positive things for Brian. I knew both of them before they got married, and just a bedrock in terms of what she means to Brian. He would tell you that in raising their 2 young boys. And you got to have that support system. Joey Wiles had that with his wife Lydia. Corky, of course, had that with his wife Linda. So many of these coaches are able to do it because that infrastructure they have at home and in terms of a supportive spouse.
They fake it to Lewis and throw, and in and out of the hands of Caldwell and nearly intercepted. And I'm surprised we have gone nearly an entire quarter here in this 2nd half, and Arthur Lewis has not touched the football. They faked it to him there. Now that's a ball that DeAndre Caldwell will usually catch. 2nd and 10 and down 41-14. And they'll give it to the up back. And a penalty marker thrown in at the 35-yard line. Put Colby Dean in the backfield and let him carry it. So I don't know if there's something, an injury issue or something for Arthur Lewis. He's out there playing, but he's not getting the ball.
St. Augustine scores a couple more times. We're into possibly one of the biggest wins in this series history. Of course, that's a St. Augustine record. 2009 game. Yellow Jackets won 49-7 in the regular season. Nathan Peterman that season young Nathan Peterman led the Bears that year.
1st and 10 after the penalty against St. Augustine. Lewis out of the backfield in motion. They'll dump it off across the middle. Here's Dean, wrapped up and pulled down after a short gain. So it certainly seems that the offensive game plan here in the second quarter is to utilize, or second half rather, is to utilize Arthur Lewis as a decoy.
Kind of to your point, Cole, I don't know if Arthur is banged up or they're just trying to use him to open up other areas of the field. I mean, in a game like this, I think the run game is largely out.
And this time they give it to him. And there's Lewis. First down carry. I think when you have a player as explosive as Lewis has been, if he is healthy, he can strike from anywhere on the field. You got to keep him involved.
Well, he has first or second touch of the second half.
42 on the tackle. Mason Dean. First down. Bears.
Trying to get some scores rolling in right now. Bishop Kenny 31-6 beats First Coast. Oakleaf 21-7 over Ed White going into the fourth.
Weatherly in trouble, and down he goes. Big loss on the play.
Now behind the line of scrimmage.
Kion Wilcox and Brent Bell were both back there in the area.
St. Augustine down 24-7 to Gainesville East Side at halftime, and the Saints closing in on a dubious mark. They were 0-10 last year. They're 0-7 this year, so staring at a potential donut in the win column once again. Shows how things have changed in the high school football landscape locally.
Now with 2 minutes left in the quarter, timeout is called. We'll stop at a 1:55. Just to look ahead for Bartram, they've got 2 more district games remaining. Again, we mentioned it's been 23 days since they had played a football game because of storms and a bye week. Their last game was a 42-26 loss at Tecoy Creek. That's a district game. So Buholtz coming up on next Friday, the 25th. Then they'll face Ribault the following Friday. And the game against Nice, which was scheduled for earlier in the year but got postponed because of the weather, has been moved to the 7th of November. That's a Thursday, the final day of games you can play this year. And that is a district game as well. So plenty to play for the Bears. They want to get out of here healthy. They also want to get something to build on for the next 3 games of the regular season.
Yeah, and it's a different kind of year for the Bears. Their 3 losses, all St. Johns County losses, and that's...
Here's Lewis coming to the near side, breaks 1 tackle. Skirts to the outside, finally pushed out of bounds inside the 15. Again, your point about needing a quick strike is true. This kid can do it on the ground as easily as anybody.
Finally getting going here in the second half, and it's taken a little bit of time to put the ball in his hands and let him doing something. But, man, he is fun to watch.
Again, they keep it on the ground.
Arthur Lewis on the carry.
And Lewis carries it down to the 2.
Number 42. That's Mason Dean.
So it'll be 1st and goal.
Brings it inside the 5. Be 1st and goal.
Lewis closing in on 100 yards. Quick throw left side, knocked down at the line. Incomplete.
Pass is incomplete.
Tried to get it over there to Nico Dawkins. But it was batted down by Brent Bell. The senior has made some key plays for the St. Augustine defense today.
A lot of big names tonight for this St. Augustine defense. Guys right and left turning in big plays. good to see that from this Yellow Jackets defense, which got a lot of new faces starting this year that weren't there last season.
Weatherly gives it to Lewis, picking his way, trying to find a hole, then just puts the shoulder down and shoves forward to about the 3. 3rd and goal coming up for Bartram Trail.
Tackle made by Braylon James. Also in on the tackle.
In the last game, Arthur Lewis ran 18 times for 249 yards. That's the high water mark of the season. He's approaching 18 carries in this game, and he's yet to hit the 100-yard mark. Direct snap to him, running left, and he is in. 3rd touchdown of the ball game for Arthur Lewis. And they're an extra point away from cutting the lead to 20.
I've seen some wild things in this series, but how St. Augustine's offense has played, I don't think that we're going to see a wild Bartram Trail comeback. I just think those 3 turnovers, too much to overcome, but Arthur Lewis still running strong.
Extra point is good, and so Bartram scores for the first time in the second half. The 3rd touchdown for Arthur Lewis. He scored all 3 of the Bartram Trail touchdowns. The St. Augustine lead is 20.
You can stay connected to high school sports in the area with the Varsity 4 podcast. Each week, Sponge Franklin and I bring you high school football analysis, game previews, and local insight that you can only find here. Varsity 4 podcast. Check that out under the sports tab, only at News4JAX.com or wherever your favorite podcasts are found.
Corey Johns said he thought that Arthur Lewis had the chance to lead the state in rushing when the season began, and he came in 9th in rushing yards in the state of Florida and 6th in rushing yards per game. He was averaging 186 yards per game, and he's just about half that right now. So if Lewis is going to pile up some numbers, it will be key for Bartram's comeback if it is indeed going to happen. But he's going to need to go a ways to do what he's done most of the rest of the year. Here is the kick, and taken by Trenton Jones inside the 5. Here comes Jones, got a seam to the outside, and runs out of bounds near the 40-yard line.
Bears just not been able to do much of anything against St. Augustine, be it on special teams or on offense.
Look at the return again. Jones just looks like he's playing at a different speed than the guys in the black jerseys. A lot of the guys on St. Augustine looking that way tonight.
So quick, so many weapons. This is not just something they would do to Bartram Trail. I mean, this team played for a state championship last year for a reason, and a lot of those guys offensively are back.
Trendell Anderson on the carry, gained a couple, running to the right side. Anderson's approaching 100 yards himself.
So a team that has state championship expectations as well. Realistic state championship expectations, not the preseason rah-rah. Everybody can win. Our goal is a state championship. This is actual contending for a state championship type of lineup for Brian Braddock.
And they're ranked 4th in the state in 4A, behind only Miami Norland, Orlando Jones, and Ocala Vanguard. So as the 3rd quarter comes to an end, this St. Augustine team riding high, 41-21. The Yellow Jackets 12 minutes away from clinching another victory in this St. Johns County rivalry. They've won 20 of 25 all time, trying to make it 21 of 26.
Barring something catastrophic for the Yellow Jackets, they're on pace for just that. The next generation of WWE superstars take to the ring live each week in the CW's WWE NXT. Don't miss the action Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. on CW 17. like to think about this game, Cole, without those 3 giveaways of your Corey Johns. Even one fewer of those, I think this is a completely different game.
Yeah, take the one at the 1 yard line. Let's just say that's a touchdown instead of a fumble, and the subsequent 2-play 98-yard drive. I mean, you're talking about a major change in this game. Here's Anderson swinging into the outside and down in Bears territory at the 46. And just to add another touchdown for Bartram, take it away for St. Augustine, and all of a sudden this is a 1-score game.
Yeah, it was a 14-point swing for St. Augustine. You go from essentially giving up a touchdown to stopping it and getting 7 the other way.
Here's Anderson, watch out, run it up the middle and dragged down. Perhaps a touchdown saving tackle by Josiah Smith. Number 31, watch this tackle, just got enough of him. Smith has been the steadiest player on defense this year for Bartram Trail, according to Corey Johns. And when we saw them play Ponte Vedra earlier in the year, we mentioned that his dad is in the Navy and was going through a training deployment, and saw the opener, and probably the only game Dad will be able to see in person. Hopefully he'll be able to see more from Josiah Smith at some point, but just imagine dealing with that, not having Dad around when he's off serving the country.
So a pretty good highlights a few weeks ago at St. Joseph. Had a player whose father had just come back from deployment, surprised him. Emotions were, you could feel them through the video replay.
Hewlett throws through the hands of Wingo. A rare drop for this St. Augustine offense. Hewlett has been razor sharp with his accuracy in this ball game. Give credit to the offensive line as well. Hewlett hasn't had to worry too much about pressure most of the game.
I think Lachlan going into this season, I mean, he was a first-team all-area guy for me last year. I think probably a little under the radar to some people with the giant shadow of Tramel Jones, but I do think he is the best quarterback in our coverage area.
3rd down and 8. Hewlett fakes the handoff, quick throw near side. There's Wingo again, an inside move, pushing his way down inside the 25, trying to get closer to that first down marker.
And this is going to be an interesting off-season for Bartram Trail. Bartram used to being kind of king of St. Johns County, if not the king, the prince of St. Johns County. If St. Augustine has been the king for many years. But this is going to be an interesting off-season because 4 losses, if this result stays the same, will all be to St. Johns County teams, and that's something that's not happened before in Bartram Trail's history, going winless against the county.
Hewlett hands it off. And Nate Preston gets forward for the gain of 5. The clock continues to run, and it becomes more and more an ally of the Yellow Jackets. Yeah, Bartram, again, the losses to Ponte Vedra, Creekside, to Coy Creek, and now today to St. Augustine, it appears. They'll have one more game against a county foe, and that's at Nice to wrap up the season. Anderson bouncing to the outside, finds the edge, tries to stay in bounds, kicks the pylon, touchdown. Trendell Anderson, second score of the ball game, and St. Augustine is pouring it on.
Trendell Anderson, so quick, so shifty. I mentioned Bam Lyons. Trendale learned under Bam Lyons, and they're completely different players, but you got a guy like that to learn from. You saw what he took to be that 4-year player for St. Augustine and how impactful he was for that offense. Trendale slides into that role, and man, he has been a pleasant surprise for these Yellow Jackets in this ground game.
And a heads-up play there. It's not just kicking the pylon. That doesn't do it. You saw him reach the football back inside to make sure it would break the plane of the goal line for the touchdown. So 48-21, St. Augustine with the lead with 9:15 to play. And this is going to be an impressive performance. And St. Aug has had some big performances so far this year. They scored 42 against Palatka, 47 against Riverside, 56 against Clay on Monday. So they've gone over 100 points this week.
Now's a good time to remind you that if you love high school football, you could catch all the highlights and updates from week 9 of the high school football season tonight and on Tuesday night for our Super 10. St. Augustine ranked number 3. Or will they be next Tuesday night when we bring our new Super 10 high school football rankings to you? You can check that out on the 10 o'clock news, coming to you around 10:45 or 10:50.
A lot of candidates for player of the game in this one. Pretty much all of them wearing that gold helmet. We've seen it on offense. And there's the referee going down. He was just run over and then threw a flag.
Arthur Lewis on the carry on the return. We have a referee down. We have a referee down.
Well, you don't see that very often. A referee getting hit on a kickoff.
Hopefully he is okay. Another thankless profession, a high school referee in any sport. And they're always looking for men and women to do that job.
I was going to say that their numbers are dwindling. It's becoming tougher and tougher to recruit. And when you get knocked down like that, you can see why. Unsportsmanlike called against St. Augustine. Well, we've seen the offensive player star, but we've also seen a star on defense tonight for St. Augustine. Kion Wilcox, the senior, has been a game wrecker, forcing turnovers, making plays in the backfield, and generally wrecking everything for Bartram Trail. 4 sacks and a forced fumble for Kion Wilcox tonight.
Defense, 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 and started Monday night and continuing now.
Weatherly on first down. Steps up, runs right into the arms of Wilcox and a teammate.
A little different doing it against a younger and inexperienced Clay team and winning 56-6. Much more impressive what they are doing tonight against Arthur Lewis and this Bartram Trail offense.
Damian Spivey was in there, number 51 on the tackle as well. Sophomore defensive lineman. You see how clean his jersey is, so he's getting some work here in the fourth quarter. Weatherly looking to run. Couldn't find much room up the middle. Tackled by Mason Bean. Bean's had a big week too. He had a pick 6 against Clay on Monday.
Big 6. I think he's a freshman, I believe.
He is.
Freshman with a pick 6 on Monday. Pretty nice week for the young man there. One of 3 pick 6s on Monday against the Blue Devils.
On 3rd and 8, Weatherly on the rollout. Throws and couldn't find anybody open, just threw it away. Now it's 4th and 8. And Bartram does not want to give the ball away to St. Augustine at this part of the field, at this part of the game, but they going to have to go for it. Desperation time here for the Bears.
I think everything we saw in this game, Cole, in terms of where it flipped, was that fumble going into the end zone that St. Augustine recovered and turned it into a touchdown in 2 plays. That game flipped right there in the second quarter, and it's just gone downhill from there for Bartram Trail.
Bartram gets a little bit of a break here with defensive holding call, so they get the first down into St. Augustine territory. But I agree with you. That was a real game changer. Here's the handoff. Nico Dawkins dancing. But up to that point, it looked like it was going to be one of those tennis matches, back and forth, back and forth. The offense is going up and down the field. After that, though, it really seemed to break the momentum for Bartram's offense. And it did nothing but help the confidence of St. Augustine, both offensively and defensively.
3 turnovers, 2 on your side of the field. I think that rattled Bartram a little bit, knowing you had to play perfect against this high-powered St. Augustine team, and to give them the ball 3 times in the first half. You just don't bounce back from that when you see things slipping away.
Weatherly to throw, fires left side, caught by Caldwell, and he's taken down right at the spot at the 27-yard line. Enough for a first down for Bartram Trail. Bartram's got some horses here now. There's not like they're without skilled players on offense.
Just a little too late. They do have their big 3. Caldwell, very capable. Of course, Jaden Weatherly capable. And the big horse, Arthur Lewis, certainly a game breaker. But I just think when you're facing this much firepower, your defense has allowed 48 points. A little tough to overcome that.
Yeah, they needed the kind of game that Lewis has been delivering pretty much all year, and would have needed one of his better games to overcome the 3 turnovers. Just too difficult to overcome against a team as potent on offense as St. Augustine. Yellow Jackets have taken advantage of those turnovers. Weatherly on the run, puts his head down and lunges for the 16.
And what makes this game so interesting, and I asked Braylon James when I saw him this week, and also Arthur Lewis, what makes a county game so special, different than a Duval County game or different than a Putnam County game? Both of them said, hey, we played middle school with these guys. We know these guys from growing up together. That's what makes these games so important.
Nico Dawkins on the run. And it's something that might be changing in some regards as St. Johns County continues to grow. One of the comments made by one of the coaches I spoke with this week was they hope that instead of building more schools, they'll build more buildings for these schools. I'm not sure that that's likely to happen with the kind of population growth that's happening in St. Johns County. And a timeout for the water break here with 5:51 to play.
Corey John said that, and it's what makes these games special when you're talking about a smaller county. It's, Corey's he's down at Interlochen. I mean, he knows what it is about these smaller county games, and you still have a little semblance of neighborhood vibes in small schools where it's not the transfer epidemic that you see in a lot of these counties. It's not Duval, it's not Miami-Dade or Broward. These are smaller schools where it still feels like it's a little bit of the neighborhood or community feel, which has been lost, significantly lost as the transfer portal era and open enrollment in high school football. And I totally feel that from Corey and Ben Wendell, the athletic director at Bartram Trail. I mean, just how the landscape has changed. I've talked to both of those men extensively about it, and it's just, you still have that vibe down at schools like a Bartram or a Creekside, even a St. Augustine, where it's not that epidemic of transfers and kids hopping schools right and left.
Weatherly on first down, under pressure, down he goes. Another sack for the St. Augustine defense. Coming off the edge that time, Braylon James. And there's a guy who certainly understands the texture of this rivalry, a Cornell commit. And as you mentioned, we see some of these county games. We saw one last time out on Monday between Fernandina Beach and Yulee. And that has a different texture and a different complexion than the St. Johns County matchup. But these St. Johns County schools, the programs are so well supported by the communities. And it does add an extra dimension, a little more depth to the rivalry, I think, for a lot of these kids. And some of that may be lost as St. Johns County continues to grow.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I do think what Corey was saying. I do get where he's coming from on that, because I do think the more you grow and become a bigger county with schools spread out. I mean, it used to be St. Augustine and Nice in St. Johns County. Those were the two true public schools, Florida Deaf, obviously, and then St. Joseph Academy. But they were the two schools. I mean, St. Augustine and Nice were the two schools from 1981 on until when Bartram and Menendez opened in 2000. So just adding those two schools in St. Johns County, it felt different. And then Creekside and Ponte Vedra came in 2008. And then now you got Coy and Beachside. You've added those guys in there as well. So it's a growing county, a big-time rivalry county. But, yeah, the more you add, the more you lose that community feel. Next week, we've got a good Gateway Conference clash coming to you. Ed White and Riverside in it. Duval County Showdown, that's coming to you in the Week 10 game of the week, kicking off next Friday at 6:30 p.m.
3rd and 12. Weatherly hands it off. This is Dawkins running right and stopped at the 10-yard line after a gain of 3. And, of course, Bartram Trail will go for it here. Your point about the game next week, we'll see a couple more outstanding receivers for Riverside. Tayshawn Gelsey and Miles Kendrick are both among the leaders in the state in receiving. So if you like wide receivers.
Yeah, Tayshawn Gelsey, I'm looking forward to seeing him. Got a new number this year, not used to seeing Tayshawn outside of that 13.
Fade to the left side and overshooting DeAndre Caldwell on 4th down. Incomplete. Ball goes over on downs, and the body language from Caldwell pretty much tells you the story of this game for Bartram Trail.
Yeah, unfortunate type of game for Bartram. Great game from the St. Augustine defense. We talked a lot about offense, rightfully so, with the quarterback and Lachlan Hewlett and his arsenal of excellent receivers and 3 deep at running back. But, man, this St. Augustine defense, Braylon James on that last drive, the big-time sack. A lot of guys on this St. Augustine defense that may not have known their names before the season started, outside of the Mike Wrights or the Jimmy Wheelers. But, man, some St. Augustine defensive guys shining tonight, really as a unit tonight, Cole. They have been phenomenal.
And a new quarterback in there right now for St. Augustine, so Hewlett's day is done. And I'd like to tell you who it is, but we don't have a number 13 on our roster.
I did see him out at practice this week, taking snaps and throwing.
Gain of 4, we have 2nd and 6.
They'll likely keep it on the ground. Preston.
13, James.
Going to get a lot of carries here. Clock continues to run, ticking down toward the 3.5-minute mark. And handed off to Preston. Hit and driven back immediately. Good to see the effort still being put out there by the Bartram defense. I know this game is now all over but the shouting. They are not rolling over in this rivalry contest.
Yeah, moral of the story in this game, you can't give any team the ball 3 extra times, and especially not one as good as St. Augustine. But what I like to see tonight is this growth from the St. Augustine defense. I mean, this is not an 8-man team that you're going up against. This is an excellent football team in terms of a Bartram Trail unit, and you've held them to 21 points in a game that hasn't even felt that close.
Yeah, this is a team in Bartram that is averaging 490 yards and 30 points per game coming in. They are going to fall well short of that number. They were averaging 280 rushing yards per game. Nowhere near that in terms of the final stats. So a lot to build on for St. Augustine, and there's the ability to do it and then the confidence to do it. And this has to help the confidence for the Yellow Jackets defense in particular.
The defense, I mean, we've talked about the graduation losses and the struggles in some games, especially look at that Nice game. you lose 35-34 in overtime, where Nice had a blitzkrieg in the second half to come back. They were down 21-0 in the third quarter of that game and end up losing. So a good performance tonight from this St. Augustine defense.
And they've limited one of the best players in the area, one of the best running backs in the state, Arthur Lewis, to 16 carries for 76 yards. That is less than half of his usual output. Usually he has averaged 186 yards rushing per game. Held him to just 76 in this one. That is impressive. As good as the offense has been for St. Augustine, you'd have to give the game ball to the defense, forcing the turnovers and wrapping up one of the most explosive players in the area.
Absolutely. I think a collective game ball to the defense, and you're going to see this final score is 48 points by St. Augustine. But so much of that was hard-earned and set up by that defense. 3 turnovers. And yeah, those ended in offensive touchdowns. No defensive scores tonight, but wow. Defense set up so much of that. Gotta love it if you're Brian Braddock to be treated to a defensive performance like we've seen tonight.
And the pass rush also helped to disrupt Weatherly throwing the football. Basically took Caldwell out of the game for all intents and purposes. On second down, they'll run it again as the clock goes inside 2 minutes to play. Now a little pushing and shoving. As you see Jaquan Lee with the run. Lee with a touchdown. Nate Preston with 2. Trendell Anderson with 2. Carl Jenkins and Samorian Wingo each with touchdowns. A minute and 25 and the clock is rolling. Bartram does not seem intent on stopping the clock at this point, nor should they. St. Aug willing to run it. Lee again. Hard hit as he tried to get back to the line of scrimmage. He stays in bounds. And we go inside a minute to play. It'll be 4th down and 9. And St. Augustine will have to snap it. Send the punting team on for the first time in this game.
They do carry a punter, Cole.
They do. Well, it's the kicker, Skylar Kokoschka, so didn't take up an extra roster spot.
Dropping back to receive the punt is number 20. That's Mario Middleton.
Kokoschka to boot it away. Mario Middleton back deep to return the kick, as St. Augustine will let the play clock wind down as far as they possibly can before snapping the ball. In fact, they'll let it go down and then call a timeout just before the delay of game penalty would be called. So 18 seconds for this one will be in the books. It is not a record win for St. Augustine in this series, but it will be one of the more impressive ones in the 26-year history of the rivalry between the Yellow Jackets and the Bears.
Yeah, and I think things to build off of from both teams. St. Augustine, of course, the defensive performance tonight, and then Bartram, for Corey Johns, a lesson on ball security and how much this game changed and how much he can stress how much this game changed. It's a completely different game if these turnovers are even. St. Augustine has played clean football with the exception of the play at the end of the first half where Lachlan had the bad snap. Only time outside of this drive and then that one that they have not put the ball in the end zone. For Corey Johns, a way to stress just how important playing clean football is.
Good kick by Kokoschka, and it hits the St. Augustine player down right there at the 32. A frustrating night for Bartram, to be sure, in what has been a very un-Bartram-like season. And you mentioned the offseason. One of the things that is always a key is the big guys up front. Bartram's got 4 seniors who play a key role on that offensive line. Arthur Lewis will be back. Weatherly will be back. Caldwell will be gone. Nico Dawkins will be gone from the offense. So
Number 9, Colson.
it's not an empty cupboard, to be sure, for Bartram.
And you're only talking year 2 of Corey John's tenure. And
Fumble on the snap.
Ball's on the ground.
And it's covered by Bartram. And that'll be how the game ends, fittingly so. 48-21. St. Augustine with the win. They win for the 21st time in 26 games against the Bartram Trail Bears. An impressive performance all the way around by St. Augustine. Brian Braddock's team improves to 6-1 on the season. Bartram Trail falls to 3-4 with consecutive losses in the county. Next week, we will have another Varsity 4 game of the week as Riverside and Ed White collide in a matchup of Gateway Conference teams. That's Friday at 6:30, streaming on News4JAX Plus and News4JAX.com. An impressive win for St. Augustine in the St. Johns County rivalry. For Justin Barney, I'm Cole Pepper. Thanks for watching our Varsity 4 game of the week.
It's Friday night, where student athletes play with nothing to lose, chasing greatness, building bonds.
And whole communities come together under the lights to witness passion, pride, and moments they'll remember for the rest of their lives.
This is football, high school football. There's no tradition like it.
And we're here to support it. Farron Farah is proud to sponsor Varsity 4 Football.
A world of ideas comes to life through Gemstone Media. We blend picture and sound, persuasion and emotion, purpose and passion to brand your company and increase sales. We broadcast sports and train military and industrial personnel. Let us demonstrate the power of effective communication. On the air, online, on demand, on time, on budget, on point. Let Gemstone Media get your ideas turned on.